La 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 doo, la 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 tee, la ta ta too. What is up, everybody? Welcome in, and boy, oh boy, do we have some stuff to talk about. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of, you guessed it, DISANITY. We are back, and wow, we had a couple big breaking news stories today from Disney that I really kind of wanted to jump on today and talk about. Obviously, one of them we won't talk too much about. I think that's for another stream. But I really wanted to talk about the big news coming out of Disney today about the Galactic Starcruiser over at Hollywood Studios. For those of you that may not know, Disney announced today that the Galactic Starcruiser will be closing its doors permanently. I think the last voyage will be September 28th of this year. So, we've talked about this ad nauseum at times when it comes to this entire project, I'll put, that Disney attempted here. And we're going to kind of get into it. We're going to talk about the history, this, that, and the other. I've got several topics. I might even have a special guest or two. I tried to get a couple people. They couldn't make it. Kind of last minute. I didn't expect too many. But I might have a special guest or two come in to help talk about this with me. So we got a lot to talk about. But before we do that, let's do some quick, of course, we'll do some mousekeeping. And then we got lots to talk about tonight. Of course, Dean over at the Live Place. Check him out at theliveplace.com for family-friendly streams. He's your TV guide up live streamer. He's amazing. Check out Dean. He's been such a supporter and such a good guy. And if you're looking for a live stream, you're not sure when they go live or who it is or what day of the week or a certain genre, go to the Live Place. He's got them all there. And he's your TV guide of live streamers. For partner channels, Steve's World, Disney Dan, Dis Our Dream, Pete McDevitt. I tried to get Steve. I tried to get Pete. They were both already preoccupied with things they're doing, so they couldn't make it. Unfortunately, would have been nice to get their opinions on this, but I might still have a special guest come in if they can make it. But check out all their channels; they're all amazing. Obviously, our membership. Thank you so much for your membership. Your extra generosity and loyalty has just been fantastic. We just wouldn't be able to do the things we do without you. Now let's say hi to everybody in the chat here real fast. Genie52573, Noah's in the house. Al's here. Cynthia Candy Mom, AB. John Serpum, what's up, John? Good to see you. Kim Daniels is here. Andy Cash. Vicky All Smiles is here. Cynthia Candy Mom, our first member, by the way. Rebecca Virginia is here. Also, Leanne Sherbick is here. Victor's here. Heike's here. Sony 4K is here. Stacy Bailey is here. Mark Langenkamp, welcome in. Vicky Pauley. Keith BDF. John Serpum. Jessica, the Disney chick. Eric Newman. Diana's here. Steve Stardio Studios, welcome in. Yeah, that was the other big story, Steve. It's funny you said that. The Disney Imagineering is not coming to Disney World, Florida, after all, and that's a big project as well, which we can get into and talk to and about in a minute here. And it looks like my guest is here, so I'm going to bring them in a second. Yvette Goodrich is here. Will Lovins is here. Welcome in, Will. Good to see you. We also have, let's see, 820 Chief. Luke Smith is here. And I think we're up to date. And I do have a special guest who I think might be ready. I'm going to bring him in. Hey!
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
There he is, Charlie from the Disney Nerd Herders. He was one of my 3 people I was asking to come on tonight. I was like, I got to get a couple of people on. I asked Steve. I asked Charlie. I asked Pete. 1 out of 3 is not too bad. We're batting 333. That's okay. David Stevens, Matt Simba 2, welcome in. Good to see you guys. So, Charlie, I'm sure you've heard the news by now. If you haven't, breaking news. Disney announced today that the Galactic Starcruiser is closing permanently as of September 28th. So I kind of wanted to talk about it tonight. I kind of wanted to talk about something that, look, I'm just going to be frank and honest with you guys. I don't like to pat myself on the back too much, but I said this months ago that this did not have sustainability. It wasn't a repeatability type of thing. You could stay at Coronado, you can stay at Pop Century, you can stay at the All Stars, you can stay at, heck, Contemporary Grand Floridian over and over and over again. They have repeatability to them. This didn't have that. And at the cost that they were expecting you to pay for only 2 nights, throw that on top of it. And I think this was, for me, Charlie, anyway, I thought this was doomed from the beginning. What are your thoughts on what's happening?
I couldn't agree more with you, buddy. It's I think we did hear the news, and I think
Hey, Paul.
me and Stacey were talking about it just a little bit ago, actually, because we had to go out and pick up Avery some dress clothes.
Hey, Carrie.
And I believe the quote was what you were saying, but it was more like mostly a lot of the clientele that they are trying to hit up, Star Wars fans. A lot of them are people living in their parents' basements, that type of thing. Not all, I know, but again, the point is, it's not a repeatable thing for a lot of people. You have to have a lot of money. You have to be really, really, I think you have to be a really devoted Star Wars fan to want to do that type of thing over and over again. And it was just way too it was out of people's price ranges.
Yeah.
It was just way out there.
And I think that's what a lot of people in the chat are saying. Victor, welcome in. Amanda Lee, welcome in. Huge Star Wars fans in my family, but it's just too much money for 2 days. That's a big part of it. But here's what I'll say about that. I still don't have, well, actually, let me jump back for a second. Part of the problem I had with this was not so much just cost. Cost was a big thing. But I thought the cost for the product they were providing us, the product was inferior. I didn't like the characters they were showing us, the experiences that you could do, the so-called excursions, the lightsaber thing and the other stuff. It felt cheap to me. It felt, I hate to say the word second rate, but for the amount of money I was paying, I expected it to be really, really big deal. And it didn't feel that way to me. So I didn't feel like, and I didn't even go, so I can only imagine for those that paid, I didn't feel like it was going to be enough value for what I was paying. What do you feel? I mean, I know neither one of us went, but what do you think? Stephanie Danielle, welcome in.
From what I saw, you brought up a good point. I think it was missing a connection element to it. Like I believe the only character like from the original trilogy that you see on there was Chewbacca, right?
Right.
Was there? So unless you're going to bring in like someone that's playing, Luke, Leia, whatever, Han Solo type of thing.
Good point.
And try to reach the people who are old enough and have the money to spend there. You got to connect at least with those people, right? And then the people who grew up with the sequels, I think they're still, a lot of them are probably still too young to even have that type of money, And I think so. I think it was a connection issue.
I think so. Yeah, I agree. A couple comments I want to show real fast. Mark F says even concierge level rooms at Contemporary or Four Seasons cost less per night than the Starcruiser. Just an immersive hotel and dinner show priced at $1,000 to $1,200 per night, and the place would fill. Right, exactly. AB said, talking about chat. I know there was another comment. It's mind-boggling how off the mark Disney company was with this project, and I'm going to get into that because I agree. I agree 100%. And Kim says it should have been old school characters. Diehard fans would have liked to see the original cast, and that kind of segues into where I'm going next. David Stevens, Will Lovins, Super Wayne, Little Bit. Welcome in, everybody. Good to have you here. And one more comment. Carrie Witt says, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I don't ever want to cosplay on my vacation, especially for the cost. The whole thing was cringe. Agreed. But Charlie, you made a good point you kind of segued into where I was going to go. Would this have still worked if this was Luke, Leia, Han, Darth Vader, Stormtroopers. I agree. I would have loved it. I probably would have gone if it was the OG characters. I think that's where they were off the mark. But would this still have had sustainability with even the new characters? I mean,
Maybe
the
a little
characters we
longer.
knew.
Maybe a little longer than it lasted now. Might have lasted a couple more years, maybe.
Hi,
But
Jason.
I still don't think it was a long-term thing, unless they're going to be changing the story every couple of years, changing the entire,
Yeah. Well, that's part of the problem
adventure.
is, yeah. I mean, they were trying to make this as if you were really in like a Star Cruiser. But even if it was, let's say, for instance, to an extent, it's affordable, Charlie, affordable enough. How many more times are you even still going to go unless this is not, unless it's a grand slam knockout of the park, oh my God experience? I don't know, guys. Just for me, I don't see the sustainability and repeatability. I just don't see people going back and over again to do this.
So it's my understanding, sorry, that you can go in there and you can be on the dark side or the light side of whatever the mission is, right? You can go in there. You either have a choice or maybe they put you wherever they want to put you. But that's like two different versions of a stay right there.
Right.
So, but after that, again, what do you do? You're right. It didn't have.
Hey, Chris.
I don't see the sustainability there at all. It's just.
Yeah. And I think Stephanie makes a good point. I think Disney thought people are going to pay no matter what. People will come because it's Star Wars. It's immersive. They're going to come. And that's not necessarily the case. And I think part of it is it's threefold here, folks, in my opinion. First, it's the backlash from the sequel movies. I don't think they were anywhere near as beloved as what Disney thought they were going to be. Second, Disney pushed those sequel movies on us. Galaxy's Edge is all about their movies. It's not about the originals. It's about their three movies. And thirdly, they thought it's Disney, it's Star Wars, it's going to succeed no matter what. And here we are. I don't know. I think people make good points, like Stephanie here, where she says, I think they kind of just expected it to be successful. What do you think, Charlie? You think that was a mindset there?
I think their mindset was let's take the Disney Cruise Line, where they have themed cruises, like the Halloween cruise. They have, different cruise lines have different themed cruises. Where they can go and see, a rock band or whatever, or it's a cruising, a gambling cruise, or it's a celebrity cruise, that type of thing. And I think that they were going to try. I think they were trying to make it a Star Wars type cruise thing, but they weren't thinking it out all the way, because with cruises, even if you're on a celebrity cruise or a gambling cruise or a rock and roll cruise or a Halloween cruise, whatever, they still have ports of stay. They still have different areas that people can go see and do all these excursions and whatnot. At Disney, what are they going to do? They're going out to the parks, so and if they've already done, if they're the type of people that have enough money to spend on a Star Wars cruise, they've probably been to Disney 100 times to begin with. So I don't think that's any part of the pull.
Right.
And there's only so much you can do with the Star Wars land. I know that you can go over from that hotel, you can go over right to the back door of Galaxy's Edge, and I just don't think it was very well thought out for the long term anyways. I see that they thought it could have worked, but I really don't see how they could see that it would work for an extended period of time. Not for that much money.
I agree. I don't know where the vision or lack thereof was with this, where they really thought that this was going to be something that was going to be of repeatability and highly successful for decades. I mean, when you build hotels, you build them for decades. Charles makes a very good point. He says, heck, I could have got a house for 15 days for $2,600. And he's right. I mean, I know Disney, we all know Disney pricing, but this one was a really astronomical out there price that they really thought they really pushed, what's the envelope, pushed the envelope here. And it really fell flat.
And I can imagine the overhead on that, because you're not just hiring, your hotel personnel. You're hiring actors who have to do that day in and day out, and they have to be good actors if they're going to sell that whole mission thing and sell the storyline and everything. They got to be good. You can't just be, Joe Schmo down the street. They got to be believable, and some of, in that regard, from what I've seen people's videos, the lightsaber fights or something like that, they just looked very just like me and you. If we were to fool around in Galaxy's Edge, I'd be like, I didn't see it much better.
No, I agree. I want to touch on something Kim says, because they've been talking in the chat about why Star Wars, maybe because Star Wars isn't as huge. And Kim makes a point here. She says it isn't as popular now with the younger generation. 30 years ago, absolutely. I'm going to push back on that, Kim. I have a 27-year-old and I have a 22-year-old who are in this generation, and they both love Star Wars. I think that there is still a generation that loves Star Wars and wants to love Star Wars the way we did when we were kids and it came out. My two, especially Mason, highly loves the original characters and he would go to a Star Wars weekends. He would go to Galaxy's Edge. He loves riding Rise of the Resistance. He would love to meet Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford. So I think there is still a market there. I don't expect it to be the same one that like Charlie and I when we grow up as kids. Maybe not. But I think there is still a market. And I think that Disney missed it because they really pushed their new characters instead of going on old reliable characters that I really think people still love today, even the younger generation. Charlie, what about you? Do your kids enjoy Star Wars, or do you see what I'm saying with that?
I do see what I'm saying. They know about Star Wars. They never really became fanatics like we were. Again, for me, the new characters, that they have, Poe and Rey and them, it's just they don't do it anywhere near how the old group used to. It's not I think it's an adhesive thing. They didn't have that same interactions and same thing that the old movies had. So I don't think that so they're not involved with that. Stacey's not a huge Star Wars fan either. She watches it probably because I watch it.
Right.
And it probably humors me a little bit. And again, it's not really it's not really inspiring, the new movies, I'm sorry to say. Right. They're not as inspiring as the old ones. I realize the old ones, it was something new, and it was you had some equity in the characters, that you're following the storyline. You want to see what happened next, and this one is more like,
right,
you didn't care as much what happened next. Maybe. And is that from poor storytelling? Is it for them trying to do too much? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I personally think it's because they just didn't put. I don't think they put as much money into it and as much thought and as much effort as they used to do in the past with things. And I think that's what part of it for me was the problem was. I think they, pardon the expression, half-assed it, so to speak, into what experience they provided for folks and said, but we're still going to charge this price and people are going to come. And I think they now learned from it. The other issue is, I don't know if y'all get a chance, you need to go read the press release from Disney when they decided to close this. They don't like to admit when they're wrong and they make mistakes. And the press release is is such a microcosm of that. And just read it and
I did not read that. So
it's interesting. It's one of those, well, we've learned from this, and we're going to move. Nothing like, well, this didn't work. I mean, I guess they're not ever going to say that. But somebody else said something in the chat. Charlie, I want your opinion on this. Okay, so September 28th, last voyage. What happens next? What do we do with that? We'll start with the building. I want to talk about the cast members as well. You got a lot of people that are employed over there. But what happens to the building? What do you think? What do you think happens to the building?
You think that if they're trying to save money or trying to make sure that it gets profitable as fast as possible, just make it a Star Wars themed resort, just like everyone else, but it's actually Star Wars. Maybe you have, more space. Don't be having actors everywhere, but maybe they're dressed up more like in Star Wars garb. Maybe it's more references. Maybe there's more, old school connections, old school stuff throughout the hotel. More nostalgic things, trying to pull to the older crowd, the people in their 40s and 50s that grew up with the original, and their kids that might be interested in the new sequels. But they could save that if they had that, and definitely don't overprice it. Don't overprice it. You can even have different Star Wars based meals, but don't make that the only thing. You still have to attract the regular people that are mild Star Wars fans. But I don't see a problem with that becoming profitable very shortly, if it's just a Star Wars themed hotel. Because I think then, if you lower the price from $2,900 or too much down to okay, it's $500 for a couple nights instead, then I think that's more within reason of most Star Wars fans that can afford that.
Agreed. Me personally, the cast members, we'll touch on that in a minute, but the building itself, I'm going to say, I don't know what they're going to do with the building just yet. It's only got 100 rooms. So it's very small. Okay. It's very small. But that was on purpose. That's the way they wanted to do it. Now, could they say we're closing down, and could they expand on it and build up and make 100 rooms, maybe 300 rooms, add 200 more and make it a Star Wars themed hotel? I agree with you. But for now, it's really small, and I don't know that it's profitable, which I think is part of the reason why they charge so much money. It's because they don't have a ton of rooms. If you had more rooms, if you had more rooms, you could charge less. But with only 100 rooms, you got to charge that high price to make a profit. So if they're going to stay open at 100 rooms, how does that change the price if you want to be profitable?
So, I didn't realize they only had 100 rooms. So
yes, it's very small.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah. And that's going to be the problem here. What do they do? So for me, I think that if the building's going to stay open and they want to make it something that's going to be there all the time, I think the building has to be expanded, and they need more occupancy. Otherwise, I think it shuts down and goes away. That's just my opinion.
Where is that hotel located, by the way?
It's on the backside of Galaxy's Edge. That's why they can get in the way they do. It's on the back end of it. Yeah. And everybody's agreeing with you. They think it should be a Star Wars themed hotel, but my opinion is I just don't see it with only 100 rooms. You can't make money.
What if they made it then? If it's only 100 rooms, what if they made it like an exclusive DVC type of thing for high-end DVC members? That way, offering them specific privileges.
Maybe.
From the backside of the park. But that's a tough one.
Yeah, and that's what everybody's saying. Florida Man says Starcruiser building will be torn down and the loss will be written off their taxes for the next 10 years. It's a warehouse with rooms. I mean, that's a legitimate. I get what you're saying. That's a legitimate point. I think Mark says here none of the restaurants are kept in business by locals or always 40. Oh, that's a little bit something different. I'm sorry, but I wanted to Charles. That's what it was. It says 100 rooms, and the rooms look small. They are small. I agree. I don't know what they're going to do here. Matt Flathouder, welcome in. Amy AJC, welcome in. And Amy makes a good point. It's not located in an area where guests could really go to it. That's another thing. I agree. It's kind of on the backside of Galaxy's Edge. I don't know. There's a lot of space for the experiences that they can convert into rooms. They could, Matt. But even that, the experiences, that those areas that they have for like the main room, this, that, and the other, even that, you might add 30 rooms. You're not adding hundreds more rooms. Most resorts have hundreds and hundreds of rooms. And I just don't see it. Excuse me. Scott Rowe, welcome in. Vicky says, I don't see them doing anything Star Wars with it because it'll be like them admitting they screwed up. Well, you know what, Vicky, I get what you're saying, but I think they've kind of already admitted that by saying they're closing. I think they're not going to come out and directly say that, but they've kind of eaten crow by publicly coming out and saying, hey, we're closing our doors. That's an interesting take. Chris says, if anything, it becomes a dinner show with a ride to outer space to the Halcyon, just like Space 220. Interesting, but here's the thing. They already have that. They have Space 220. It's kind of a rinse and repeat kind of thing. I don't know that they want to do that.
An alternative
might be. Welcome. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Charlie.
Another alternative might be, I hear there's a lot of, there was, before the big fight between Disney and Florida or whatever, I heard there was a lot of cast members and moving around of cast members, bringing people over from California and different areas down into the Florida area. Maybe you make it into an employee cast member building or something, or an office building.
They might.
If it's only 100 rooms.
Yeah, they might.
Maybe.
Yeah, they might. I personally think the building's going to shut down. With it only being 100 rooms, unless they build onto it and expand it, I don't see where they can do anything useful with it that's going to be to their profitable for them. I just don't. I don't see it. I just don't see it staying a hotel. I'm sorry. I just don't. It's too small. What about cast members, Charlie? What do you think? What do you think will happen to these cast members? Are they going to lose their job? Are they going to be re-transferred somewhere else?
Well, I would hope that they would transfer them somewhere else. But, one thing that me and Stacey were definitely disappointed about with Galaxy's Edge, when they were in the planning phases and then in the hype phases, they used to have, they had all these drawings with all these different types of aliens and different creatures and stuff that were roaming around the galaxies, that were supposed to be roaming around the Galaxy's Edge, and all these spaceships are supposed to be taking off and all this other stuff. All this extra stuff was supposed to be in Galaxy's Edge. I hope they repurpose some of those actors from that hotel and populate Galaxy's Edge more, because I think there's definitely a demand for that. If you see people trying to go see Mando, there's like 300 or 400 people trying to get at the guy sometimes, and it's insane. They should be having so many more characters out in the open, just roaming that area.
Yeah,
and creatures, different types of creatures roaming that. They never missed opportunity. I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I agree with you that they, initially in a lot of the renderings and artwork that they initially came out with, you're supposed to see, it was supposed to look like you were on this real planet with people walking around and all these characters and all these aliens and droids, and none of that ever came to fruition. We can blame COVID if we want. I tend to not want to do that. There are other companies or other theme parks that are doing just fine and going forward with their plans, and they were hit with it too. I won't mention names here, but I don't know. I think there's a lot that's going on when it comes to the cast members. Some of these cast members are contracted talent, like the ones that dress up, the ones that sing, the ones that go around. They are contracted talent. It's not the same as a cast member. I mean, it is, but isn't. They are talent that are contracted. And I think some of them They could lose their jobs. I'm not saying they will. I have no idea. But I think there's a possibility. Now, the normal person that goes in and does the maintenance and the turn down service and all them, they can always reroute them. The people in the kitchens and all, they can reroute them elsewhere. But I think some of those ones that are like the entertainment, those people are like contracted people. I was reading in an article quickly tonight. I didn't read the whole thing, so I'm not fully 100%. But they're kind of contracted, and they may not have a contract renewed, and they might be out of a job.
Yeah. We did notice that the blue-haired lady was back. I forget her name, but we saw her the last time we were in there.
Oh, good. Hey, Chris, welcome in, bud. Yeah, they need to do more of that, though, where they bring those characters out and make this a little bit more immersive. I think somebody said earlier the dumbing down of Galaxy's Edge is directly related to them pushing their characters. I think part of that is the case. I know for me, I would be as much of a big Star Wars fan as I am, Charlie. For me, if I go to Hollywood Studios and if I don't walk into Galaxy's Edge, it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to bother me not to walk in there. When we went to California, Melissa and I, we didn't even step foot in Galaxy's Edge. The entire time we were out there, we never went into the Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
If that was the OG characters in Galaxy's Edge, I would be in there every single time.
I know. If they had like a Hoth section or...
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And like even in the old Star Wars ride, outside of it, it looked like the Ewok village with all the trees and stuff like that. I would have loved to walk through there. They blocked that off 90% of the time. It used to be for the queue, which is never reaches. It never reaches more than 15 minutes anymore. That old Star Tours ride, pretty much, and it's another missed opportunities. Yeah, but I wish they had it more. I wish they had more of the old school stuff in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. I think the other thing I want to touch on, and I want everybody in the chat, guys, thank you all for being here. We got over 100 people watching right now. That's amazing. Please hit that like button, guys. Let's see if we can get to that 100 mark on the likes. That would be fantastic. And be sure to check out Charlie's channel, the Disney Nerd Herders. They'll be going live on Wednesday nights for Not Quite Ready for Prime Time. And Sundays right now, they're doing a resort tour. Kind of talk a little bit about that, Charlie. What are you doing on Sundays again, where you're doing the trails?
It's our Walking the World Trail series, and we are tackling all of the Walt Disney World Disney resorts, bringing everyone live with us as we walk the jogging trails of each resort. Some of them share jogging trails, like Art of Animation and Pop Century. The Hourglass Lake jogging trail, they share that one. The one that we are doing this Sunday is Caribbean Beach and Riviera. They share the same trail around that gigantic lake too. Riviera used to be a part of the Caribbean Beach, so it shares the same trail. But we're trying to do a new one each week. We're building up from the Valley Resorts all the way up to the Deluxe Resorts. And it's been fun. We've been getting out, getting some walks, showing people the trails. And after we walk the trail, we go and do a resort tour too. So, and some of them we haven't even seen. Like last week's, we've never ever stepped foot in Coronado Springs. So that was pretty cool. We got to go up to Toledo's and we saw her out. The view from up there is awesome. So that was a fun one last week. But this week, we're doing the Caribbean Beach Resort and the Riviera Resort trail. Nice.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, guys, check them out. Charlie and Stacey, Disney Nerd Herders. If you guys could share their link, Kenneth already did it. Welcome in, by the way, Kenneth. Welcome in. So yeah, Charlie and Stacey are awesome guys. You'll have a blast with them. They have a lot of fun. Sophie will be there sometimes. Avery will be there. They're a blast. Check them out for sure. I did want to check. Brian, welcome in. I gotta say hi to Brian. Kenneth is here. Noel Ash, welcome. Hi, Noel. So Florida Man kind of segues into another thing I want to touch on. He talked about this is the biggest flop since the NBA experience. And that's a really good point, because what I'm noticing for the first time is Disney is really making some costly, literally costly, big mistakes that we're not used to Disney doing. Galaxy's Edge, not Galaxy's Edge, Starcruiser now, all that money they put into this, millions of dollars to build this hotel, is closing. The NBA experience, they tore down Disney Quest or whatever it was called. I think it was called Disney Quest, right? They tore down Disney Quest. They built this entire NBA experience. That has since closed. They spent millions of dollars on Harmonious and these barges, and now that's gone. They spent tons of money on Rivers of Light at Animal Kingdom, and they built that whole amphitheater out by the water, and now that's gone. It's a pattern that scares me, and in all seriousness, I'm starting to wonder if Disney is 50-50 now when it comes to projects. You know, in the past, it was always they would hit a home run every single time, but now it's like it's a hit and miss. For every one they get right on Guardians of the Galaxy, we get Harmonious, or it's becoming 50-50, and that's worrisome to me, Charlie. What Patrick, I got to say real fast, Patrick Julian, welcome in. Good to have you here. Nico DeGrico and Rod Priester, welcome in. Charlie, what are your thoughts on that? You see what I'm saying?
Well, if I was the CEO of Disney, I'd be looking towards my creative team saying, what the heck? You know, because they're obviously not thinking past their noses with a lot of these things that they've tried. I think they've had grand ideas, but they have tried to take the cheap way to develop them. And like take, for instance, Harmonious, right? It wasn't a terrible show, but again, it all comes down to connecting with the people and building and building up.
Hi, Marvin.
Those feelings that people want to come back. They need to see the show. They need to hear that music again. It just wasn't connecting with people again, like the old music. So, and they didn't think that part of the attraction of Epcot is looking out over the lake, being able to see all the countries from different angles and stuff like that. And they block the views most tacos.
Right, and line of sight has always been a huge thing for Disney. Disney always used to take line of sight very seriously. That's why with the Morocco Pavilion, at certain angles, you can see Tower of Terror, but they did it on purpose with line of sight. It looks like it belongs in the Morocco Pavilion. It's amazing. They seem to have let some of this attention to detail go, and I think that's a problem.
I'm worried that they're trying to bring in, you're bringing in these young, new Imagineers or whatever that are trying to make their stamp on the parks. They're trying to make, give a name for themselves or whatever.
Right.
And so they come up with this great idea, and they put a little pretty bow on it, and the people in charge see the dollar sign saying, okay, this isn't going to be too cheap, but sounds like a good story. But then they're not looking into the finer details. They're not looking into the nostalgia end. They're not looking into who their audience is now in regards to and what they want to see and what they want to hear and what they're going there for. And then there's a disconnect there. And again, I think they need to tap older resources, but more people, I think, not so much younger people, because I don't think they feel the nostalgia. They don't know what that's about. I think people that are your age and my age, we feel it the most because we've been there. We've been there when the parks in the 80s. We've been there when things were a lot better than they are now. We've been there to connect with the different music, and we've seen the different parades and shows and whatnot. They need to have more people like that at least having their voices heard when these big projects are being put out there to see what's coming next. You know, they need to be more outspoken and speaking from the viewpoint of our generation, not to put down younger people, but I think the bulk of the money comes from our generation right now into the Disney parks because we're paying for everything. We're in that zone where we're the ones that are the money earners. We're the ones that are willing to pay for the nostalgia and for all the little shows that mean stuff. And they need to see that more and let the Imagineers voice their opinions more for our point of view, you know, because we're the ones with the money right now, I think. So
yeah. Well, I think part of the problem that I'm seeing is, and what worries me is where Disney is financially. I don't see this changing because they just financially are hurting right now across the board. It's not about quality right now. It's about putting out something that's always IP based. First off, everything's IP driven at this point, and hoping that the IP alone is going to drive it to do well. And I think that they have taken the creative side of it and really dumbed it down a lot and have taken a lot of money out of it. Now, I know they've been talking, Iger talks about how he's going to put $17 billion into Florida, this, that, and the other, and that's all fine and good, and I'll believe it when I see it. But that being said, I look at some of these parks. Has anybody looked at Tokyo Disney Land and Sea? Has anybody looked at Shanghai and the technology of the rides and the shows and the parades and the quality in those? They are far and above us in every aspect. Why the money and the engineering and innovation is being put into good use over there and not here is beyond me. I mean, go out and look at that Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Shanghai Disney. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I the first time I ever watched it, I'm like, what am I watching? This is incredible. And that's on TV. I can only imagine what it's like in real life. And then the new Beauty and the Beast ride that just came out, I think, in Tokyo Disney or wherever. Unbelievable. And now they got the Arendelle area coming out at one of the parks, and it's going to have these incredible rides. Some of these parades they have are fantastic, and we can't even get a nighttime parade. So what boggles my mind is why is it this innovation and this technology and these ideas are great abroad, but they're not brought here? I don't understand. And Charlie, what is your opinion on stuff like that? I know you've watched other parks and things they have. What do you think?
I think whenever a park tries to go cheap, they just end up costing themselves money in the long run. I think to make money, to bring in money, you got to spend money, and you got to spend it wisely. And right now, there's a lot of stuff, especially in Walt Disney World, like Magic Kingdom or whatnot, that's missing those extras, and they are losing a lot of opportunities to be making money without gouging each guest. You know, it's, in other words, they should bring back a nighttime parade that keeps the people in there longer. It makes, you know, they could have more vendors selling things during the nighttime parade. They could keep their stores, especially their food stores, open later. Because you realize how early they're closing some of these stores. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. And it's like they're cutting back on hours, trying to save money. But by closing all those things down, they're chopping off their revenue as well. It's just, I don't understand their thought process behind that. But again, it's missed opportunity. And they need to open up these parks to full, not full capacity or whatever, but I'm saying to have everything open that used to be open.
Yeah.
To be making the money that they used to make.
Yeah, true. Well, Karen Kushner makes a good point, and it kind of drives off the point I'm making. We don't even have the full Festival of Fantasy parade back. We were talking about that over the weekend, Charlie. When you were there, I was talking about how they don't have the Merida float coming out. They don't have, it's hit or miss on whether or not the float with Dumbo and Pinocchio comes out. We're not even getting the full parade. It's just, then we got Dinosaur Land. Mark makes a very good point. Dinosaur Land is an area that just, I don't know what's going to happen there. And Carrie makes a very good point too. Apart from Guardians, the two newest hyped attractions are just imported from other parks. And those aren't exactly next level showstoppers. I mean, Tron's great. Don't get me wrong. I like Tron, but you're right. It's not something that I pine for. I pine for Guardians. I love Guardians, but I don't pine for Tron, and I certainly don't pine for Ratatouille. You're right. And these are imported rides. We're not even getting new stuff. And guys, I don't mean to beat on Disney. I love Disney. We're there all the time. It's still magical. We still enjoy it. But Brian made a very good point. Part of what Disney doesn't do anymore is they're not original. Things like Emily Ellis, welcome in. I got to say hi to you real fast. Good to have you here. Things like Haunted Mansion, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise, Space Mountain. None of them are IPs, folks. They were just thought up attractions that they gave backstory to, including that the Pirates was a ride first, not a movie. It was a ride first that they made into a movie. Same with Haunted Mansion. That's the type of creativity. That's the word. I'm sorry, that they don't do anymore. That they need to do. They just say, okay, we'll make this and throw it in. I miss that. There's so many great things that they've. Spaceship Earth, another one, just incredible. I don't know, Charlie. What are your thoughts on where we've gone over the years with things?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's again, a lot of those rides that you just mentioned are also, I bet there are a lot of favorites there for the people that love going to the parks. They're all nostalgic favorites. And like me, when I heard that they were going to change Spaceship Earth, I was like, no, come on. I love that ride. If anything, add something to the way down, and or update those screens in the cars. So that way we don't all have horns sticking out and holes in our faces and stuff like that.
It's true.
But yeah, hey, what's it take for someone to have a little bit of imagination and come up with a new ride that's not IP, that's just someone's fun ride, And then also to mention, with things that have been closed and that are just sitting there wasting space, what came to mind was the Wonders of Life. That pavilion's still closed. It's been closed for what, 10 years, 15 years? And that's just sitting there. If you're not going to use it, rip it down and put in a ride there or something. Do something with it. It's just wasted space.
Yep, agreed. And two comments I've got to touch on, Charlie, and I want your opinion. I think Florida Man makes a very good point. And I've said this for a very long time. He says, we all love Disney, but the management running Florida has lost Walt's vision. And I think there's a huge valid point there. Because I've been saying for the longest time, the further we get away from Walt's generation of creators, as we keep going generation to generation and we get further disconnected from Walt, the more of that creativity and his vision we're going to continue to lose as we get further away. Like that first generation when he first died, still his people, they were following his things. Then the next generation comes and a little bit gets lost. And then the next generation, and then a little bit more. And the further we get away, I feel the further we're going to lose that vision of what he wanted from the very beginning. What are your thoughts on that?
I see that, I am, again, I'm a proponent of tapping the older generation to keep the nostalgic things alive that people really want to hear and see. But also I can understand that, if you keep going with just the old people, you're going to get yourself phased out of what's up and coming and what younger kids and the younger generation want. I understand that they want to keep up with the younger generation, but keep the appeal because they are they're tomorrow's money, right? They're tomorrow's revenues. I understand that, but I think they got to mix it a little bit better. It's like they've been tapping the younger generation too much, and they have not been, the connection's been lost, and it's been slowly being lost.
Yeah.
So they have to remember what the soul of Disney is.
Right.
You know, why it was created, what was in his mind, what his visions were. And, you know, and the original appeal was, you know, hey, let's get a family down there, have fun together. The adults can be kids, the kids can be kids, just gonna have fun. You know, they can lose themselves for a day or two, forget about the world outside, you know. And a lot of that's being lost. You can tell every day you're in there. How many people are walking down Main Street, USA, where there's a big castle in front of them, but they're like this in front of their phone? How many people? I bet probably 50% of the people are on their phones going down Main Street, USA. Whereas back in the day, you know, everyone comes around that corner, they see the castle, they're freaking out. They're like, oh,
yep.
It's total release. And it's not like that anymore.
No, I agree. And VP makes a good point. The further away from Walt we get, you're right, it is a natural progression. But it's about whether or not you care enough in his vision to continue it on. Like, I was taught what I was taught as a kid from my mother and father, and I've passed that on to my children. And now I passed it on to my children because I thought it was important, what I was taught. If I didn't feel it was important, I wouldn't do it. And I kind of feel the same way here. These people that are taking over, they've got to look at Walt's vision and say, do I agree with it? Is it important? Is this the way it should always be? And I don't feel they do. I think that's why they're getting away from it. If they thought it was important enough and they wanted to keep following his vision, we wouldn't be, I don't think we'd be having these conversations, at least not as much. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has misses. There are plenty of things that have parks and other theme parks that have misses. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think we would be going through this as much if it mattered as much. And I think that maybe it's not quite, they say it is, but is it really? That's, just my opinion. LSU mom, Emily says, the further we get away, the more it will just become like any other theme park if they're not careful. Very possible.
And when you mentioned all those things that were misses before, like the light parade and Animal Kingdom, and them having now they have to take all the tacos out and stuff, or they're already gone, whatever. You add all that up, that's probably like $100 million right there,
Yeah.
And from what they spent on all that, or they lost on all that, if they were actually had thought things out a little further, maybe they would have. It would have been a swing in the other direction. Maybe they'd have something again. They'd be building.
Hi, Jay here.
Building people wanted to come back more and spend more money and all that stuff if they had done it right the first time.
Right. No, I agree. And that's kind of what Carrie's saying here. Walt's vision, well said. I get more enjoyment from the Tiki Room than something like Tron, but I get it. New is great if the same creativity and money is put into it. I'm not sure that's the case. Right. And that's kind of true too. Somebody said that earlier. Creativity is lacking. We're just saying, oh, it's Tron. Let's bring this over from Shanghai. Let's bring this over. Let's just throw this in there. Even with new rides, like I'll take, for instance, this is where I think creativity and laziness comes in. They got rid of Maelstrom, right? They wanted to make it Frozen. It's the same track. It's the same ride. It's just rethemed. That's lazy to me. Again, to me, make it a whole new track. Tear it down. Build something all brand new if you're going to do it. Because to me, it's the same ride, just a different theme. To an extent, same with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. They didn't even change the building. The entire inside still looks like the old Chinese theater that we saw when we would walk in. I mean, at times I still think I'm going into the Great Movie Ride. It's like they just kind of slapped something in there real fast and kept the rest I don't know. These are the types of things that, again, as somebody who lives down here and I'm in the parks all the time, so I can kind of pay a little bit more attention to these things. That kind of bothers me a little bit. I'm like, why? I want the entire thing changed. If you're doing a whole new ride, then give me a whole new ride. Even Splash. Splash is going to be the same track and just retheme. They should have just, if you're going to make it Tiana's Bayou Adventure, then tear the whole thing down and start new. But they don't want to it costs too much. They don't want to spend the money. Mike M, welcome in. Good to have you here. So I don't know. That's just my thought on that. I don't know what you think, but that's just me.
Well, when it comes to Tiana, right? First of all, I think they got rid of they made a terrible idea getting rid of Splash Mountain, but that's what it's done is done. But I can understand them repurposing the mountain, the track. They could still tell a good, decent story on the same track. I liked the ride itself. It was fun. It had multiple drops and stuff, and it went down, into the caves and stuff, and it was fun. I don't mind them repurposing that for the ride, because if they would have ripped it all out, and they probably would have put a new ride that would have been probably similar anyways. Would have been probably a log flume ride that was, had a big drop or whatever. So I don't mind them repurposing.
Thanks, Carrie.
Splash Mountain for that, but like you said, for the Great Movie Ride, that's just ridiculous. I think they wanted to reduce the shock maybe by keeping the Chinese theater facade up front.
Well, it is exactly, I guess. But Charlie, it's not even the icon of the park anymore. They use Tower of Terror for it. So I don't know. These are the types of things that bother me. That really, look. I've said this a billion times. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, but it's right. It's not the icon of the park. Even they had for 20 years. They had that big blue hat in front of it, covering it up. So it was you couldn't see that. So it was like now all of a sudden they want to preserve it. They could have redone it. They should have redone it, but
yeah. I don't know. I to me, and Chris, that's perfectly fine. See, to me, it is lazy. To me, it's lazy that they're not going to take this. If you're going to build I mean, I know why they're doing it. It's cost effective. It's a new theme. They'll put in some new animatronics. They'll retheme it, but it's still the same track layout. I don't want the same track layout. If you're going to give me a new ride, give me a new ride. That's what I want. Again, they want us to spend top dollar to go to these parks. I am paying high-tiered pricing. You need to bring me high-tiered product. And I just think to me, it's lazy on their part to do that. But again, that's me. And Matt, you're right. We probably would complain that it's taking longer. But in the end, here's the thing. We all complain. But in the end, if they knock it out of the park, the complaining goes away. Doesn't it, Charlie? It really does. Look at it. Guardians took a long time to build, but we're not complaining about it now, are we?
Yeah, we're not complaining just to complain. We're complaining because we've seen it. We've seen the parks at a much better place. We've seen where it used to be so much better. So we're complaining because of things that are now missing, that used to be there and that we want back. We want, even though we don't, not necessarily the old rides back, we want that old feeling back. We want the inspiration, the passion back. We want stuff that's, the new Imagineering stuff. We want them to come up with new things that are going to pique our interest and inspire us for the next 10, 20 years. That's what we want. We're not complaining just to be complaining. We saw Disney at a much better place, and we want Disney to get back where I feel they belong. It was an inspiration. Hey, when you're growing up as a kid, man, it was the dream of a kid to go to Disney World, wasn't it?
Science working. Yeah, always wanted to go. And I still want to go. I know we're kind of past 9 o'clock at this point, guys, so I don't want to go too much further. I just think that ultimately, getting back to the Galactic Starcruiser, I think that what Disney lacks right now, and this is going to sound really funny because this is Disney we're talking about, I think they lack long-term vision. I think they're looking at their rides and their attractions and their entertainment short term. I really do. I think that they're not looking at it in a long-term fashion of saying this is going to be iconic for the next 30 years. Big Thunder, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise. Now that's long-term vision. Tron, Ratatouille. I'm sorry. Harmonious. I love Tron. I like Ratatouille. Harmonious, that's short-term vision to me. Galactic Starcruiser, that was really short-term vision. I really don't see how they didn't see what all of us saw in the failure of this. I don't know how they didn't see this coming. I don't know. I just, and that worries me because I am not a smart person at all, not even close. And I saw it coming. I don't know how they didn't. I don't know.
You know, if I was, again, the Disney higher ups, I'd be watching the vloggers who are vlogging the parks, because right now they're the only pulse that they're getting that's pretty much close to what the pulse is of the people going into the parks, and they need to set the boat back on course. And again, I'd be looking at my Imagineering team, and I'd be shifting some people around. I'd be either, again, putting some older people in charge that have the vision from the old school, as well as tying in the new vision, you know, for the next generation. But yeah, something's definitely off there, and it needs to be fixed before they spend another $100 million and throw it away again in 5 years.
Yeah. And that's what worries me. Dougie, welcome in. Good to see you, buddy. Great seeing you the other night. Nice Doug says 100% agree with Walt. Disney's putting a lot of money into the flash in the pan attractions, not thinking about what will last. And that's I really do. I think that they're not looking at it long term. That's, again, just my opinion. Carrie White says, yep, compare for a second rides that have survived 50 plus years or overpriced motel less than 2. They get paid to not make those mistakes. I agree. Their whole job is to not make these mistakes, but they're making them more than they should. But, you know, we will see. Yeah, Rockin' Robin, hey, Glenn, welcome in. Puba's Patreon account, welcome in. Send me Bitcoin. Okay. Sorry, pal. That's not what we're here about. We're here to have fun. Well, we're here to talk Disney, unfortunately, and not the good side of it. But well, there you go, gang. I know we're past 9 o'clock. I don't have work tomorrow. I'm actually going to talk about that in a minute, but I know a lot of folks do. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Charlie from the Disney Nerd Herders for joining me, buddy. I hope you had a good time tonight.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm sorry if I was running my mouth too much here. I appreciate you chiming in. You know me, once I get going on a topic, I just can't shut up.
I prefer to listen anyway, so.
Well,
that's why we're so good together. That's why we're so good together.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Florida Man says, great show. Glad I found it and I liked and subscribed. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. I got to say, for all those that are new in here tonight, I've seen a lot of new folks coming in. This is not what we're about. We're really about the positivity side of things with Disney. We do live streams from the parks on the weekends. We do vlogs. We do dining reviews. We love Disney, but we're also honest. I'm not going to be a cheerleader. Okay. I work 40 hours a week. I do this in my spare time as enjoyment, and I want it to be enjoyment because I enjoy this, spending time with good friends, talking Disney, and with everybody in the chat, talking Disney and showing it to those that can't get here. But when they're making mistakes or they're dropping the ball, I am going to call them out on it. It's just, I feel it's my duty to an extent. I'm not going to be mean about it. I'm not going to be rude about it. I'm not going to be, insulting about it, but I will tell what I feel. And that's, again, just me.
We are the torchbearers, Walt.
Yes. And Dougie makes a good point. And we talked about that, Dougie. He says, I think they also had a, if they build it, they will come attitude, telling customers what they want instead of listening to what we want. I agree. When we talked about that, we said they thought Star Wars, Disney, it's going to succeed. End of story. And they they're learning now that it didn't. So, for what it's worth. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it. Charlie, what do you guys got coming up on your channel? We got 100 people in here. Tell them what's coming up.
Wow. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Whenever you get the call from Walt, I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it. So it was fun. I'm sorry that I left my phone in the kitchen. I would have answered you a lot earlier.
That's okay.
It's too late. It was one of those couch moments where I was just like, I'm not getting out to get my phone. It's way over there. It's 20 feet away. But thanks for having me. Yeah, we go live every Wednesday night. If it's a home stream, it's 7 o'clock for a Not Quite Ready for Primetime live stream. And if it's in a park, we usually start around 6-ish. This Sunday, we are going to be at the Caribbean Beach Resort doing the Walking the World Trail series. We're going to be walking that trail, showing it to you all live, and then we're going to take a tour of the resort afterwards. It's about a 2-mile trail, I believe. So
is it that much?
One of the longer ones that's supposedly, yeah. It might be a little bit shorter, but it was one of the longer ones, and we're excited to bring it to you. It's one of our old favorite resorts to hang out there, so we're happy to be going back. And then yeah, we're trying to release vlogs every Mondays and Fridays.
Nice.
Sometimes life happens and we are not able to keep that schedule, but we try. And Stacy's doing so much work she's learning the new software, and I can see the improvements in her vlogs, and I know the time that she puts into it. So I appreciate her very much in regards to, because you do a vlog, you know how it is. You do a vlog and you might get, well, not you, but us, we might get like 50 views on it. And then you go live, and it's so much easier going live, and you might get 500 views on it. So,
right. No,
so
that's
the
true.
vlog is so much harder, but it's so much little return on the vlog. So I hope you guys appreciate the effort that goes into the vlogs, because we definitely love doing them. I hope that comes across in the vlogs, because we're out there having fun. Whenever this thing stops being fun, we're going to stop vlogging. That's all there is to it. We're here to have fun. We work full time too. This is our fun time.
Right.
And a lot of times we go in the parks and we're not even vlogging. We don't have the cameras or anything like that. We're just enjoying the sunset or the weather or whatever. So, and so sometimes we just forget to vlog or whatever. But yeah, so that's what we do every Wednesdays and Sundays. And if we're lucky enough, we get to see you guys in the park sometimes on the weekends. Yes. You guys probably see us more on Walt's stream than our own streams.
That's funny. Well, no, check them out, guys. Charlie and Stacy, the Disney Nerd Herders. Their link is in the chat. I think somebody's already posted it a couple times. Thank you, mods, for doing that for sure. I have to let everybody know about our sponsor, Keylee Rainwaters-Sanders, Magical Memories Tours and Travels. Be sure to check her out. Her Facebook and email are in the details of this video as well. If you guys are looking to book your next Disney vacation and you have questions, want some pricing, rooms, dates, good times, bad times, things like that, of when to be down there, Keylee is the person to call. I promise you she's going to do a great job for you. She's helping us with a cruise. She's already helped other people that are in this chat tonight. She's amazing. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed, and it doesn't cost you anything extra for her to help you. So check her out, Keylee Rainwaters-Sanders, Magical Memories Tours and Travels. Tell her Mouse Talk sent you. I got to say thank you to Dean over at The Live Place, theliveplace.com. Be sure to check him out. Family-friendly streams. If you're looking for a certain stream or a certain day of the week, certain genre, because it's not all Disney over there, check out Dean. He's the TV guide of live streamers. He's amazing, and he's such a supporter of everybody. 4 partner channels, Steve's World, Disney Dan, Our Dream, Pete McDevitt. Check them all out. They are amazing. Members, what can I say other than thank you to our members for your extra generosity and loyalty. We're not able to do the things we do without your extra generosity. So God bless you, members. You're amazing. And mods, as always, you do such a great job.
Yes.
In the chat. Just keeping it family friendly, sharing out the links, sharing out all that good stuff. We appreciate it. For us, I will say real fast, I know I'm rambling here. I'll be live tomorrow from Wilderness Lodge, part 2. We kind of got sidetracked last Friday because of Mason. But everything's fine with Mason. Everything's fine. But we're going to do it tomorrow. We're gonna do Wilderness Lodge and some other surprises tomorrow from Wilderness Lodge. I think it's at 10 a.m. That's going to be a blast. And then Sunday we're back at Magic Kingdom for our Sunday walk in the park, and some new stuff coming. Other than that, guys, thank you all for joining us. Disney, I know you're not watching. We do this because we love you and we just want to see you succeed. That's why we love you. We want you to do well, Disney. We really do. We don't want you to lose that vision. And we're scared to an extent. I know I am. I don't want to lose it. Anyway, Charlie, thank you again, my man, for joining me. And everybody in the chat, as we always like to say, please take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.